Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today our guest is DJ Scruggs. Thanks for being on the show again, DJ, or the first time.
Hi, Whitney. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I know. Happy to have you. I know we've had other team members on that you work with, and happy to have you on as well. But a little about DJ. He started his first software company in 1996 in Chicago and sold it in 99 with 700% return on investment for investors. Early partner in Survey Gizmo and grew annual revenue from $150,000 to $2 million in less than 2 years. He's a self-taught programmer who has written hundreds of thousands of lines of code. DJ, thanks again for being on the show, and I'm just looking forward to highlighting, your specialty or your superpower, of part of the team that you all have, and tell the listeners a little more about who you are and why real estate, and let's jump into what your superpower is on your all's team.
Yes, happy to. So my background is I studied music in college, and I was a classic. I'm a drummer, so not really a musician. I'm just a drummer. But I was a classic liberal arts major. I got out of school in 1990 and had no idea what I was going to do. And I stumbled around for a few years, but I sort of naturally gravitated toward business. I started reading the Wall Street Journal and Inc. magazine. And something about that just really motivated me. And I remember reading an article about how, great companies got started. Again, this is the early 90s. And so they were talking about companies like Motorola, Hewlett-Packard. And the thing that was amazing is a lot of times they just started, like they didn't even really have an idea. Motorola didn't have a product. They were like, it was just a couple of guys that said, let's start a company. We'll figure it out. And this is in the 40s too. This is before the dot-com boom or anything. And it just sort of hit me one day. It's like the most important part is just deciding to do it. And furthermore, if you just look around you, practically everything you see is because somebody had an idea. Someone had an idea to create that microphone you're using. Someone had an idea to create, my Macintosh computer. And so it was just one of those weird kind of mind shifts where I was like, you can create anything you want if you want it enough. And I noticed after my first job was with a nonprofit orchestra, and I became the computer guy in the office. And after a while, I noticed I was pretty good with computers, and so I worked a couple of like consulting jobs. And in 1995, November, it was Thanksgiving, 1995. I was living in Chicago, and I would normally visit my parents every year down near Atlanta, where I grew up. And for some reason that year I couldn't go, and I can't remember why, but I was just stuck at home for Thanksgiving in Chicago. And I got on the internet. I had just got an account, and I just remember thinking, oh my God, this is going to be the biggest thing ever. This is going to just swamp everything else. Right. And so this is again I think I had a 56K modem. And, you had to dial up and, just all that stuff. But even with that, I was like, this is going to be big. And so my idea was like, do something with the internet. That was pretty much my business idea. And, fast forward a couple of years, eventually what I settled on was customer service software. So my pitch was call centers, they have these advanced routing systems and reporting and tracking, so you can see how quickly you're answering phone calls. And I thought, well, email is going to be the same way, because I went to see a potential customer and they showed me how they were handling email, and it was just a nightmare. So the original vision was just to build an email management software. So it was one of the first ones. Now we were in Chicago, and Chicago was not a great place to start a software company. It was great if you were a consultant, but all the action was in Silicon Valley and Boston area. So it was very much I had to raise money just in bits and bytes at a time, try to keep it afloat, and by the way, I'd never managed a team. I was learning to program, but I was not a programmer. I couldn't have built that product. I had to recruit people and all that. And anyway, I ended up selling it. So it was funny because I would go out to Silicon Valley and try to raise money and pitch this. And so the first time around, a lot of them didn't believe it was a real problem. It was a real product, So 6 months later, I go out there and there was already 3 other companies in the space. And so now it's, oh, well, there's already other people in this. And by the way, you're in Chicago. We'd like to invest in people that we can, get in the car and go to a board meeting. Anyway, but I did cold call a venture capitalist who was based out here in Boulder, Colorado. And shockingly, he returned my call. And ultimately, that turned into an acquisition. I sold it to a company in Boulder that was one of the first email marketing companies. Very early days of email marketing. This would have been, I think it was 1999. And so, it was fun. I sold it. And it was one of those things where I was an entrepreneur, very scrappy. I was flying to go meet with customers, and I would take the red-eye flight and stay at the crappy airport motel. And I get there, and these guys have raised like $50 million. So now we're staying at the nice hotels, and we're doing these off-sites at Keystone and stuff. And I thought, well, I guess these guys know what they're doing, but they didn't. So my investor did really well. I did okay, but ultimately that company cratered after the dot-com implosion. But it was one of those lessons where it was a lot of fun, and it also taught me to trust my own instincts. Right? Nice. Don't just assume because someone has an MBA or worked at one of the big 5 accounting firms that they know more than you do. So from there, I ended up starting several technology companies over the years. The most well-known one is Survey Gizmo. It was 2 friends of mine who started it, and I joined about a year into it. And as you mentioned, I think we had just cracked 150,000 for that year, and then we got it up to 2 million. And while I like to take some credit for it, the truth is sometimes you're just the right product at the right time. And we had a really good sales process, and it was a one-call close. And now they don't report their numbers, but I've heard they're over like 50 million. They're still going strong. But I kept, I don't like a company that's more than about 20 people. As soon as you have to hire an HR person, I'm just kind of like not that excited about it. Yeah. So I did a few different companies over the years, and after a while, I just got really kind of burned out. And actually, if you sign up for our email list, that's one of the first emails I send is about that, which is with tech is really fun, right? It's really exciting, but it's also
if it works,
right? And it doesn't matter what level of success you're at, right? From the startup to running Google, there's always something that's keeping you awake at night. There's always, in the case of a startup, you might be building a product, and then it turns out Facebook introduces the same thing for free. There's a risk of that. Or if it's a business product, then Google does it. And or if you're successful, people notice that, and they start recruiting all your best engineers. So it's just a constant battle. And of course, with software, there's always bugs, there's always problems, there's always something in the back of your mind that you could be working on, you need to fix, and all that. So I was really starting to burn out on that process. And I got into real estate because my neighbor was a real estate agent, and he told me about this website called Bigger Pockets that he actually knew a couple of the guys there. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I initially went there thinking about just applying for a job, because I was thinking I would just downshift and have a job. And, the more I started reading it, I was like, this is really cool. And so then I thought, okay, well, let me see what I can learn from people in the area. I was living in Denver, or still am. And so I go on meetup.com and start looking for real estate events. And the first one I go to is called the Creative Real Estate Lunch Club. And it was the very first meeting, and it was put on by a guy named Adam Adams. And there was 6 people there. We met at this, and it was snowing like crazy that day. On his podcast, Adam talks about how he almost canceled it. But he had committed to doing 1 meetup a week for a year. So fortunately, he kept it going. And I met him, and also Manny was at that meeting. He's my other partner. And they were already doing some flipping and small rentals. And I just sort of kept coming. And the thing I noticed about Adam was he took this little thing with 6 people, and within 3 months, it was 70 people. I mean, he would have packed houses.
He's a meetup expert, that's for sure, to say the least.
He is. And it's not, it was no secret formula. Well, there is a secret formula, but he had to create it himself, right? There weren't a lot of guides. And
yeah, he's been a guest numerous times on the show, just so the listener know, Adam Adams, and one of them we specifically talked about meetups and growing a meetup. But go ahead, DJ.
So for me, I started out flipping houses just as a way to get into it, but I knew all along I wanted to do something. I wanted to do, whether it was multifamily or assisted living, I wanted to do something that scaled, that was bigger than just one house at a time, or a 3 or 4-plex at a time. And I kept sort of planting that seed with Adam and Manny, and eventually, and I say eventually, it was only about 6 months. They said, "Hey, we want to get into multifamily. Do you want to do it too?" And I said, "Absolutely." And so we started doing that. And like everyone, we made a lot of mistakes at first and kind of spun our wheels, but eventually started closing. And my strength, being a tech guy, I'm always looking for ways to sort of optimize, not have to duplicate things, make really easy flows, for the user. So like if you sign up for our list, I have a whole set of, we send out an investor qualification form, and then we automatically link you to Calendly to schedule a call and stuff like that. And what I'm not is an extrovert. I am perfectly happy just staying at home, working on my computer all day. And Adam, of course, is the opposite. He's the most extroverted person I've ever been around. And so I had a sense that, if we take my sort of operations expertise with Adam's ability just to meet a lot of people, and with Manny's, he's an agent, so he knows a lot about contracts and the legal and due diligence and all that stuff. And it's worked out great so far.
Nice.
And
nice.
With Adam, go ahead.
Yeah. Let's, highlight your, what do you do for the team, your expertise, and let's jump into, what your specialty,
Sure.
And what you do for the team.
So I mentioned tech. So I'm always looking I'm looking either to optimize an existing process or add something to the mix that will help us stand out, right? So I mentioned like the investor qualification. We also have a whole deal launch process when we have a deal that involves building a landing page, sending out follow-up emails, tracking all those in ActiveCampaign, and always having a running tally of how much money you've got committed and things like that. And then also hooking systems together. So, Calendly's its own thing, ActiveCampaign's its own thing. How do you get those to integrate? Well, we use Zapier. That's a very popular platform for that. So I do a lot of that. But also, as the CEO of the company, I sort of have to think more strategically about other things. I also handle all of our asset management. And in that context too, I'm also always looking at technology to improve that. And then strategically for the company, like a CEO basically has 3 jobs. One is to make sure things are running okay. The other is to make sure you have the money to do what you need to do. And the third is to set the strategic direction for the company. So I spend a lot of time thinking about those things. And with us, because of COVID-19, we have paused. We're not making any offers right now. We think that it's going to take a while for it to really shake out. But in the meantime, we've been doing events like the Raising Money Summit that's going to be coming up. And so we've been looking at how do we turn that, how do we make that the best thing it can be most efficiently and provide the most value. So I spend a lot of time with the team on that stuff.
Let's talk a little bit about the technology that you use for raising money, and then we'll talk a little about the technology that you use for asset management, maybe as well, or if there is something. So, as far as raising money, I know you mentioned like ActiveCampaign. You're going to build a landing page and some things like that. But could you highlight maybe that process a little bit and the technology you use to make that happen?
Sure. So it is a hybrid, as I said. So the initial step is we have a list we've been building over time and we've been communicating with regularly. That's very important, right? If you get someone's email address and then you wait 9 months till you have a deal, they're going to be like, "Who are you?" Right? So it's very important that you sort of establish that baseline, that they know who you are, they know you're active, they know you're doing stuff. So we have a series of automated emails that go out. As part of that, we send out a qualification form that looks more or less like the questionnaire you'd see on a subscription agreement. And we don't require people to do that, right? But we strongly encourage them. And the reason is, first of all, it tells us whether they're accredited or not and other stuff. But it also gets their mailing address, and we get their birthday too. So we can send them birthday cards and things like that. Then when a deal comes, we send it out, and we have a landing page typically built in ClickFunnels, and it sort of spells out the high level information about it. And then you have to register to get it. And that, using Zapier, we push that information over into ActiveCampaign, and we'll send out a series of emails about the property. And there's, I'm not sure if there is a right way to do this. I've seen some people just put everything in one email. I've seen what we do is we break it up. So one will be about financials, one will be about the property, one will be about the market. And we also do what's in ActiveCampaign, what they call deals. So they have this, it's kind of hard to describe unless you see it. If you've ever used Trello, it looks like that, but they have these pipelines. And so, when someone first comes in, we know they downloaded the packet, but that's it. And then we might do a follow-up phone call. And so we'll drag it over into the next column. We'll find out if they're interested, how much, and that'll give us a running tally of how much potential money there is. And then we just move them through that process. We also do webinars, Zoom webinars. Again, that's automated. We send out an email invitation, and if they attend, we make sure to flag that they have seen the webinar in our database. And we'll usually do at least 2, usually 3 webinars, and we'll also send out a recording. And then we use Syndication Pro for the actual subscription fulfillment. We just started using that this past year, and that's got a very nice investor dashboard, and you can upload the documents there and sign electronically. And then after the deal closes, you can use that for whether it's messaging or distributions and things like that.
Nice.
So yeah, it's a lot of moving parts. And like I said, I'm always looking for new stuff too. So, yeah. I mean, at any given moment, I've got a half dozen different technologies I'm playing around with.
Yeah. So just to highlight just a little bit, ActiveCampaign, and then you're using, really for contact management, I guess, or email management, or email campaigns. But then ClickFunnels, you're building landing pages through Zapier. Or Zapier, however you pronounce it. Is going to can really integrate those and allow them to communicate. You're going to do webinar and Zoom. And then also you're going to use, after the deal, or when does Syndication Pro come in? And is it integrated, in any way?
Well, so that's when you're ready to write a check, basically. You're like, I'm in, let's get this going, right? I would say, so Syndication Pro is a nice platform, but it's also a relatively new one. So there's not a lot of integration there. I did manage to hack together a system where they'll email you when someone signs up, when they commit. You can use Zapier to take those emails, forward them to Zapier. They'll parse them out, and we'll flag it in the database based on that. So those are probably the main tools we use with, a lot of Zapier. We have a ton of, probably 3 dozen Zapier actions that are running at any given moment. And Syndication Pro, like I said, it doesn't integrate with Zapier. I've pushed them very hard to offer that. I hope they'll get it soon. But one thing in general with technology, just as a very high level when it comes to software in particular, is you basically have 2 choices. You can have an all-in-one, or you can have best of breed, right? So all-in-one is, it has all of your contacts, it has all of your scheduling, it has all of your email communications. And the best of breed is like, you want the best thing for your email communication, the best thing for scheduling, and the best thing for signing documents. And they both have their advantages and drawbacks. All in one, typically those products, they start as one thing, and then the company adds things to it. And inevitably, it's just not as good as if you got a best of, right?
Sure.
So it's really on you and your both your own sort of comfort with technology, or, people you have available to you to integrate technology. ActiveCampaign is a very powerful platform. You can do a lot just with it. We always recommend it because it's a really good value for the price.
Do you all use it as your CRM as well?
Yeah, everything goes in there. If you schedule a one-off phone call with me, we make sure it gets updated there. I also have a system, which I'm not using as much these days because of COVID, but I use a product called Contacts Plus, which is it's a contact synchronization system. So what it does is you take, if you have like Apple Contacts and Gmail and any other system you have, it sort of rolls those all together. So you have a single, so if someone updates their email address in one system, it updates there as well, right?
What is that called again?
Contacts Plus.
Okay.
It used to be called Full Contact, and they rebranded. I think that was kind of a mistake, because if you search for contacts on the App Store, there's about a jillion results. But in any case, the main thing I like about it is that they have a tool where you can take a picture of a business card and it'll transcribe it, right? And when I say transcribe, it's really someone who is physically looking at that card and typing it in. It's not some kind of AI thing. They basically push this all to, who knows, India, I'm not sure where, somewhere offshore, and they'll have two different people look at the card and type it in, so it verifies it. And so now you didn't have to enter anything, right? So on one hand, so that's good all by itself, right? Because I know that what I was like, and just about everyone I know in this business, they go to a networking event, they get a handful of business cards, they come on, they put them on their desk and think I should follow up with an email with that guy. And then they don't. And pretty soon they got a drawer that's full of hundreds or thousands of business cards. Adam was like that. So by setting it up in this, so first of all, it's electronic, but with Zapier, then what I do is pretty much as soon as it's transcribed, which takes about 30 minutes, it sends an email to that person that just says, hey, it was nice to meet you. It has like, here's my contact info in case you ever need to reach me. I have some links to our website. There's a couple presentations I've done. I link to those. And then if with contacts, with Contacts Plus, you can tag someone. So, a lot of time you'll meet someone who's a real estate agent or a contractor or something like that. But very occasionally you'll meet someone who's a potential investor. So sure. I tag them as an investor. And with Zapier, if they're tagged as an investor, we put them on our special investor list. And then they start receiving emails automatically from that.
So they automatically receive an email from you because you linked that. Or tell me what you linked there. So you took a picture, with Contacts Plus. It gets put into your system. I guess it gets put into Contacts Plus then.
Yes.
And then what does Zapier link Contacts Plus to make that happen?
So Zapier, so the initial one-off email I use, I think it's called MailJet, which is, they have a free version where you can send, 100 emails a month or something. And I just built that email right inside of Zapier or inside of MailJet. And it's just really, I'm not trying to get fancy because I want people to think that I actually just sent them an email. I don't want them to think, oh, I signed up for a bunch of marketing spam, right? So the thing is, like I said, people, they go to these events and they trade cards, and most people don't act on them at all. And so just by sending them an email, I've already stood out from everyone else they've talked to there. Right. So I use MailJet to send the one-off email. And in both cases, I push them into ActiveCampaign. But if it's an investor, then it triggers an automation in ActiveCampaign that sends them a welcome message. As a few days later, sends the qualification form. And then we've got about 15 or 20 automated emails that go out roughly once a week. And in every one of those emails, people can reply to it, and I'll see it. And whenever I do the investor calls, at the end, I say, by the way, you're going to get emails from me. Don't hesitate to reply if you ever have any questions. And
are those, do those look like personalized emails, or do they look like a marketing email?
They're sort of personalized plus. So
Okay.
they have my picture in it. They have, some links, phone numbers. But it's still pretty much, a message from me. It's not
Yeah.
just some random marketing message.
What about, and before we run out of time, what about the asset management side a little bit? Any technology that you're using that's helped you on that side as well?
So, every property management firm kind of has their own that they use. So you're kind of a little bit at their mercy.
Right.
What I do for one of our properties, we actually directly manage. We have a manager on the payroll, and we use Buildium for that. I signed up for that because, again, good price for the value. I think for a while it may have had a reputation as being only for small properties. Because when I would mention to people, they go, "Oh yeah, that's for small properties." But no, it's great. I mean, I think it's fantastic. And they have really good training. So our property manager, in the particular property I'm talking about, she's not super tech savvy. So basically the first thing I did is just have her watch all the videos, and then, I've been filling around different aspects of it. And I like that a lot. But we also keep for every deal, we have a Google spreadsheet that's, I don't know, 15 tabs, everything from expected returns to projections. And then we also keep all the investors in there. We also keep the investors in active campaign, but for tax reporting purposes, it's easier just to send that to our accountant. And so we'll keep a running tally within active campaign. What was not active campaign, the Google spreadsheet. And this is more of a manual process, but at least it's there. It's easy to share. And I'll just keep all of the distributions and, actual results in there, budgets, that kind of thing.
Nice. Okay. Well, just just a couple minutes left, DJ. Any other software that you mentioned? There's numerous things you're trying, or things that that's helped your all's business. Anything else that maybe you're trying that we haven't talked about yet that we should be aware of as well?
Boy, so I'm kind of a personal productivity junkie. So one I'm trying right now. So I use Gmail. I've been using Gmail almost since it came out, which is like 2003, I think. And I've got 3 different accounts there. And so I've kind of learned all the shortcuts and some hacks for Gmail. But one that I'm trying right now is one that just came out, called Hey, HEY.com. It's started by some guys in Chicago. I wish I'd known them when I was there. Who they have a very famous project management product called Basecamp. And Hey is, their whole thing is they don't follow conventions. They decide what should email do, not what is email, but what should it do. And so they redesigned email, and I can't go into all of it, but it's a really different experience. Now, the other thing is they don't do free; they charge, right? It's $99 a year. And they're very sort of opinionated on like how business should work. So you either buy into their view of the world or you don't. And if you don't, they don't care, right? So I like the software a lot. It's still early. I think there's a few features that need to be added before I can move all of my email to it. But so far, it's been fantastic. I really like it.
Nice. Okay, DJ, just a few more questions. Is there anything else that we haven't talked about? Any way that you've improved your business recently that we could also apply to our business?
Well, this isn't a technology per se, but the book Rocket Fuel is, Rocket Fuel is sort of the marketing version of the book, and then the how-to version of it. What is it called? I've already forgotten. It's by the same author. And it's basically, you can use it in almost any business.
That's not Traction, is it? Or
Traction. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Traction. And so we adopted a lot of those. You can go out and get coaches to do it, but I had some friends who had done it, and, I'm pretty good at kind of building systems myself. So we follow a lot of the stuff in there. They have something called the Level 10 meeting every week. They have a whole chart where you sort of figure out what your company's values are, and, how does that show up in your business? Because a lot of times when you're making decisions about your business around things like that, it's easy to say what you're for, but you have to really buy into the fact that what you're not for, right? And so they give examples of different values a company might have. So, one company might be run by some ex-military guys, so it's all about discipline, right, and following a plan. But another company might be all about creativity, and coloring outside the lines. And so a big part of it is just sort of discovering what your values are. And it's not just a plaque you hang on the wall. It's got to be something you're all in on and you live by every day. And the way I think of stuff like that is when it comes to company culture, it's kind of like I think of it like a seatbelt. So, when I was growing up, seatbelts weren't common. People didn't wear seatbelts. And that started to change right around the time I started driving, thank heavens. Within 5 years of me getting my license, it was universal. And if you've ever gotten in your car and just for whatever reason not put on the seatbelt because you're just going to move at a block or something, it feels weird.
It does feel weird.
You don't have that pressure on you. And that's kind of how I think about culture. If you're living your culture, it feels good. If you're not, it feels weird. And so you just want to make sure that if something does feel weird, you speak up, right? You don't just let it fester, because if a culture starts to fall apart, the company, it will follow shortly after.
So what's the best source or your best source for meeting new investors right now?
Podcast is one. We get a lot of people, because Adam's on a lot of podcasts, plus he has his own podcast. So that's a big one. We do meet him at events and meetups and things like that. Obviously we're not doing those right now, but we hope to get those going someday. It is, I will say, it's a long game. That's the most important thing. And I even tell investors when I do the first phone call, I'll ask them some questions around, what do you look for in an investment? What's the first question you would have? Those kinds of things. But I also tell them, look, for some people, I've literally had someone, I spoke at a meetup and the next day she wrote me a check for $50,000. That was great, but that's not what you should expect. Most people want to at least wait a while. And for some people, a while is just a few months. For others, it might be 5 years.
Sure.
So I tell people, look, we're in this business for the next 30 years. We want you, when you invest, we don't want you to kind of want to do it or, be nervous about it. We want you to be psyched. We want you to be really hell yeah, I'm investing in this property and I'm really glad I'm working with BlueSpruce to do it.
What's the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
Flexibility and high tolerance for ambiguity. And by that, I mean, especially early in a business, especially early in a tech business, but also in really any business, you think you know what's going to happen, but you should be comfortable with the idea that you might be very wrong, right? About the market you're in, who your customers are, what they should pay for your services, what your services actually are. So you have to just relax and just accept that there's going to be days when you're like, I can't believe nothing's working. I'm totally wrong about this thing, or that customer's angry at me. That's just part of business. So just sort of being comfortable with that idea and not feeling, it's like to go back to the beginning, I said, Motorola was founded by two guys who said, we just want to start a company. So there was a lot of ambiguity in that statement, right? Well, what kind of company? Who are your customers going to be? What's the product? What's your expertise? But deciding to do it and then just being, I won't say comfortable, but tolerant of the vagaries that will come with that.
Yeah, I really liked what you said earlier, or right away in the beginning of the interview. You said the most important part is deciding to do it. I like that. It's so much as mental, and that decision is big when you decide to move forward and you're committed. But DJ, how do you like to give back?
I like to do just sort of personal acts of service, whether it's volunteering. I'm a big animal guy. I have a dog who she's getting up there, but she's a tripod. I used to have a tripod cat too, but now I just have a regular cat. And also just what I do at Christmas time is, you're gonna laugh. I go on Amazon and buy a bunch of Planters cashew nuts, the little packets that are like 3 ounces or something. Then I will staple a $5 bill on them and I'll put a little sticker, like a holiday sticker on that. And then if I ever see a homeless person out who wants money, I'll just give them that and say happy holidays. And it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing that. So, I look for ways to kind of help my own well-being, but help other people's well-being too. And oftentimes it's just a little thing that can make someone's day.
Do you still play the drums?
I have drums. No, I don't. For a while, I actually play guitar more than I do drums these days, but even that, it's kind of falls off a bit. But I definitely will air drum when a classic comes on.
Sure. No, well, DJ, it's been a pleasure to get to know you better and just to have you on the show and really you highlight your superpower and bring in just all the technology that you all use to make your business happen and be more productive and whether it's on the capital raise side or the asset management side. Just grateful for your time today and tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you.
So the best way, well, you go to our website, realbluespruce.com, or you can email me, dj@realbluespruce.com. I'm not big on social media. I used to be. I was one of the first 100,000 users of Twitter. I was there when they first launched at South by Southwest. These days, I'm starting to think social media is cancer. So Adam is still, he's huge on Facebook. He and Chad are, but I have a presence, but I rarely use it. But I will say one thing your listeners might want to know about when it comes to raising money. We have the Raising Money Summit coming up October 1st through 4th. This will be the third annual one. This one's going to be 100% virtual. We just made that decision, but we are really psyched. We've had a chance to watch other people's events, learn from that, and we think it's going to be a really engaging, fun event, and you're going to learn a lot. I mean, if you look at the testimonials, there's a lot there. And what we can offer, we can do a one-time offer for your listeners. If they will just text Whitney, why don't you spell that, Whitney?
WHITNEY.
Exactly. Text that to 55444. So 2 5s, 3 4s, 55444. And normally the admission price is $399, but for your listeners, we will make it $97. Only they can get that, and only if they text that Whitney to 55444.
Nice. Appreciate that discount. And I would say, yeah, it's a great event. I think maybe I spoke at the first one. I can't remember. I've been to a couple of them, I think. Well, you've had two. So I think I've been to, I was at both of them and I was able to be on stage at one of them. So great event. If you're looking to raise capital and get in this business, you're going to meet some great people there and learn a lot.
Yes. We're psyched about it. I was kind of skeptical about doing it virtual at first, but now that, one of the technologies I haven't told you about, and I'm still not going to tell you about, but it's a really cool technology that's going to make it better. And so when people sign up, they will see. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.